Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About Book.
Where we talk about book.
And this one is, we're currently reading Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. And we're doing chapters 19 through 23 this time. We said 22, but then we wanted to keep listening.
Yeah. It was there was a lot of stuff happening. Or it was interesting stuff happening.
Yeah.
And you were like, do you want to listen to another chapter? And I was like, yeah. And so we did.
So this could be one episode or two, depending on how long it is.
Yeah.
Could be one episode or two, depending on
I don't know if it ends up being too
long or not. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's any sort of awkwardly ending, that's the explanation. If it's something like, and we're done, there you go. But yeah, with Mistborn, we have these the epigraphs at the beginning / end of chapters, and we normally start by reading all of those for the chapters that we read.
Yeah.
Especially now that we know that they're all connected.
Yep. Yeah. So let's start with that. Quan and I met by happenstance, though I suppose he would use the word providence. I've met many other Terrace philosophers since that day. They are, every one, men of great wisdom and ponderous sagnaciousness, men with an almost palpable importance. Not so Quan. In a way, he is as unlikely a prophet as I am a hero. He never had an air of ceremonious wisdom, nor was he a religious scholar. When we first met, he was studying one of his ridiculous interests in the great Clenny Library. I believe he was trying to determine whether or not trees could think. That he should be the one who finally discovered the great hero of Terrace philosophy is a matter that would cause me to laugh, had events turned out a little differently. So that's that one, and then... It isn't a shadow, this dark thing that follows me, this thing that only I can see. It isn't really a shadow. It's blackish and translucent, but it doesn't have a shadow-like solid outline. It's insubstantial, wispy and formless, like it's made out of a dark fog, or mist perhaps.
Dun dun dun. It's mist.
Dun dun dun.
The mist.
Yeah. And what do you think about that?
I don't know.
Like, is he like just seeing things? Is that something that's actually there, or like is he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's... You don't really...
Yeah, it's like, I really don't know what to think about, like, the Lord Ruler and, like, the deepness and what its whole fucking deal is. Because it's like, he talks about, like, this pulsing, that he, like, senses this, like, pulsing. Yeah. Which, like, now, as we get into these chapters and we talk about, like, allomancy and, like, pulsing. Yeah. Like, when you burn, like... bronze or whatever and can detect allomancy. Yeah. It's like pulsing. Yeah. And so it's like maybe there's something connected to that, but I don't know what it would be. Right. And so it's like,
So the next one. The hero of ages shall be not a man, but a force. No nation may claim him, no woman shall keep him, and no king may slay him. He shall belong to none, not even himself. And then... At first, there were those who didn't think the deepness was a serious danger, at least not to them. However, it brought with it a blight that I have seen infect nearly every part of the land. The swords of my armies are useless against it. Great cities are laid low by its power. Crops fail and the land dies. This is the thing I fight. This is the monster I must defeat. I fear that I have taken too long. Already, so much destruction has occurred that I fear for mankind's survival. Is this truly the end of the world, as many philosophers predict?
It does, the blight makes me think, of course, Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
It's always Wheel of Time. But, yeah, because it's like, man, because Kelsier has this whole thing about, like, the world pre-Ascension. Yes. And what it was like, and how everything's wrong now. And it's like, the Lord Ruler in these, like, old things is seemingly trying to fight against that. Yeah. Like, it's like some sort of blight on the land and everything dies and all this sort of stuff. It feels like how things are now, essentially. Yeah. It's like, I mean, everything, like, they can still live. They still have plants that they can eat and whatnot, but it's like, it's very much a blighted landscape. Yeah. And so it's like, what, did the deepness win? Did it, like, get into the Lord Ruler? Yeah. And take over? Did the Lord Ruler become nameless instead of...
yeah. I'm sorry about the siren in the background.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also sorry about my sniffling, if you hear it. My nose decided that it hates me and that it's going to start doing this, like, the moment that we started recording. Mm-hmm. Wasn't happening earlier, but now it did, so...
Okay, what were we saying?
Yeah, it's, like, the deepness and the Lord Ruler... Because it's like, Kelsier seems to think that all this shit is the Lord Ruler's fault. All the, like, ash and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, would killing the Lord Ruler undo that?
Right.
You know? Like, because that kind of seems like his thought.
Yeah. Because, like, it's a whole, like...
ecological disaster.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't know that you can actually get those plants back unless... You know, unless this world had a fucking... There's, like, a place out in the Arctic... out in, like, I think it's out in, like, Norway or something, maybe? I don't know. There's, like, this place out where it's always frozen, where they have, like, a bunch of, like, seeds from plants stored.
Yeah.
With the idea that, like, if we ever needed them, they're just stored there.
Yeah.
Just in case. And it's like, did the world have that pre-Lord Ruler? Doubt it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, obviously, the keepers... know about stuff, but knowing about plants can't bring them back necessarily. So yeah, it's like he wants to bring the world back to how it was pre-ascension, right? But like, is that even possible? And like, I don't know. And how did the Lord Ruler bring it about if he did?
Right.
Because it seems like he ascended, then like all the fucking mountains exploded or whatever, like volcanoes erupted. And the sky filled with ash. Yeah. And everything got terrible because he ascended. But, like, how did he ascend? What does that mean?
I really like all of those questions.
Because, like, there's all this stuff about allomancy.
Yeah.
And it's, like, this magic that we know and understand. But then it's also, like, the Lord Ruler just does a bunch of other shit that has nothing to do with that. Yeah. He just, like, is immortal and, like, caused eruptions and... generates a dread aura.
Yep.
And like, what like there's more here.
Yep.
And like the Terrace people, they have this different kind of magic.
Yep.
That still involves metal and stuff. So it's like,
because we get into that in these chapters.
Does that have to do with the Steel Inquisitors? Is that why they have metal in them? Because they're essentially doing the metal mind stuff, and that's what makes them, like, so strong and whatnot. Yeah. Like, when they're not out there fucking shit up, they're basically just, like, in stasis, storing up power for the next time that they have to be, like, sent out. And also, they're allomancers. They're also all Mistborn, which I imagine putting spikes through your eyes, that'll Mistborn you. Yeah. if that'll snap you if you're gonna be one. Because we see Steel Inquisitor, like, use Atium and stuff. Right. So it's like, presumably they're all, like, Mistborn? And can all fully use allomancy?
Yeah, from what we've seen, they can use multiple of the metals. Which means, like, you can either do one or all, so.
Yeah, so it's like, fucks up with that. Anyway, gotten kind of... off from these epigraphs.
I love it. I'm excited. It's all good questions. Mm-hmm. And so then, do we have one more of the epigraphs? Before 23?
Yeah.
Oh no, we read 23, so we also have the one before 24.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, I sleep but a few hours each night. We must press forward, traveling as much as we can each day. But when I finally lie down, I find sleep elusive. The same thoughts that trouble me during the day are only compounded by the stillness of night. And above it all, I hear the thumping sounds from above, the pulsing from the mountains, drawing me closer with each beat.
Yeah, I mean, it's the stuff that I was saying with, like, the mountain and, like, the pulsing. The pulsing. I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then the last one we got in the section, in the end, I must trust in myself. I have seen men who have beaten from themselves the ability to recognize truth and goodness, and I do not think I am one of them. I can still see the tears in a young child's eyes and feel pain at his suffering. If I ever lose this, then I will know that I have passed beyond hope of redemption.
Yeah, well, things aren't really going so great for you now. I mean, they're going great for you now, but not for everyone else.
Right.
And it's like, you've done a real good job there, my guy, at not beating out the shit that you just said.
Yeah.
And so then the next one for 24?
That was the last one.
Oh, that was the last one?
Yep.
Oh. Well, okay then.
Yep. So we've done all the epigraphs in this part.
Yes. So moving on, I guess, to the like chapter by chapter notes stuff. Yeah, because it was like there's just a lot, so it's best to just do like the chapter by chapter instead of trying to do any sort of like big overarching. Yeah,
overarching. Let's we can like follow your notes or whatever.
Yeah, and my notes are real wonky and jacked up this time. From it's like we listened to them over like the course of some time, and then it's like these chapters, and then a little bit while later these chapters, and then a little while later these chapters, and so it's like I want to go back and listen to them all again at once, and some of them I was listening with you and not taking notes and stuff, so it's like, and you take notes, so it's like at first I only had notes for like chapter 20, and so then I had to go back and do notes for chapter 19 later, and so they're like in my notebook after my chapter 20 notes, so it's just like my notebook's a mess.
just all over the place.
Just all over the place. But chapter 19 is like Kelsier's going around doing Kelsier shit.
Yeah. Yep.
Killing nobles, dumping them in front of buildings, spying on people, being like, I'm causing trouble. He's General Chaos. That's what was his thing on the whiteboard, was General Chaos.
Exactly. And
it was probably more of like a black chalkboard, than like a whiteboard. But it's funnier if it's a whiteboard. Yeah, General Chaos. He's making houses not like each other.
Yep.
And then he goes dressed up like a noble to go meet an informant named Hoyd.
Yes.
Who I have meta knowledge about.
Yes, yeah. Just that he appears other places is the only in the Cosmere is the only.
Yeah, it's like
is the only thing you really know about Hoyd.
All I know is that if I had started with Elantris, I would have heard the name Hoyd.
Yes,
correct?
You would have. You would have seen the name Hoyd before.
And Elantris is not on the same planet as, or the same world as.
Yes.
Mistborn.
Yes.
So it's like, Hoyd? Why is this guy Hoyd?
Yep. And that is the knowledge that I had going into the series, and I think it's kind of fun, like knowing right away that like this character is a bit of an odd one.
Yeah, because it's like otherwise I wouldn't have thought anything of this character.
Right. Otherwise,
really.
It's really just like he's just talking to an informant.
Yeah.
Just like a normal type of.
And so knowing that this random informant is actually like someone who shows up in other books and stuff, it's just like funny.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like later I'll be like, what the fuck?
Yep.
As I like learn more about this guy, I'll be like you, being like, why are you here being an informant?
I'm really confused. Why is he here? You guys, why is he here?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so it's like that's my Hoyd meta knowledge.
And that's my like non-spoiler, or as non-spoiler as I can be. What's he doing?
Yeah.
You
What's he doing? What's up with that? Why are you here doing this? But yeah, my notes I have like actually this was like from my note right before Hoyd is Kel has a secret other plan, cuz he's like thinking to himself about like it's something about like this other thing.
Yeah, here it is.
There was his other plan. Kelsier didn't speak of it. He barely dared consider it. He probably wouldn't even have an opportunity to implement it. But if the opportunity did arrive, ... And so I'm like, he's got a secret other plan. What is it?
There's always another secret.
There's always another secret. And then later, we get that line again. So, that's fun. Always another secret. Kel posing as a great house, looking to see if the rebellion is found out. He's like, I gotta go talk to an informant, ask for rumors and stuff, and see if anyone is talking about our rebellion, see if, like, word has gotten out of it, and no one seems to be talking about it, except for whenever he is like, I'm gonna be an informant for a great lord later on, And that person is like, was it Lord Venture?
Yep. It was,
He goes and is pretending to be an informant for Lord Venture. So it's like, Kel becomes Lord Venture's Hoyd.
Yep, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just like a quick change and then walks over, and he uses Hoyd's, I didn't see you very well, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yep, because Hoyd pretends to have bad eyesight.
Yeah.
And Kel's like, you can't survive that long in the underground if you actually have bad eyesight. Yeah. But like, an informant, you don't want it to seem like they can, that they could easily like identify you. So it's like, oh, my eyes aren't good. Yeah. And so like,
you don't have to worry about me.
Yeah, he pulls that same move on Lord Straff Venture.
Yes.
Who's a known Tenai, apparently. Head of House Venture. Straff Venture is a Tenai, I have written down.
Forgot that, actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm really bouncing all over the place here, so sorry about that, but I have, because it's like I just like jumped straight to Kel and Straff Venture, but there's still like interesting Hoyd stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because they're talking about rumors, and so he starts hearing rumors about the stuff that Vin has been doing.
Yeah, like that evening.
yes, which is hilarious. It's like, I hear that Lord Renew has some sort of leverage over House Venture because, you know, they've got their son.
Here I have the, wait, there's more. Lord Renew and Lord Venture have had secret dealings. What? It is true. This is fresh news. I heard it barely an hour ago. There's a connection between Renew and Venture, and for some reason, Lord Renew was able to demand that Ellen Venture be assigned to watch over Lady Valette at balls. Mm-hmm. It is even whispered that Lord Renew has some kind of leverage over House Venture.
Yep.
What happened at that ball tonight?
Yep. Yeah, it's like, Vin, you really caused... You're already causing incidents. And so that's fun. And then there's a bit about Chanel Ariel.
Yes.
There's stuff about Chanel Ariel and her getting leave from her house to soothe people at parties and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's like, because we know it's like, oh, it's seen as a bit like, it's like rude, it's gauche to soothe other nobles and friends and sort of things like that. So it's interesting. It's like that your house is like, no, we're giving you permission to go soothe people for our benefit. Yeah. It's interesting, just sort of like the way the politics work in noble society.
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff happening. Kel and Hoyd talking and finding out stuff about what Vin's been doing, which that's all just like fun. Hearing Kel hear about the stuff happen, and then he goes, talks to Lord Straff Venture, and that's fun because it's like, or like the flip, we see Kel sort of like being an actor and like
he made his way eastward toward Elstrom Square. He pulled off his mist cloak as he moved, then ripped off his vest, revealing the tattered shirt hidden beneath. He dropped to an alleyway, discarding the cloak and vest, then grabbed a double handful of ash from the corner. He rubbed the crusty dark flakes onto his arms, masking his scars, then ground them onto his face and false beard. The man who stumbled out of the alleyway seconds later was very different from the nobleman who had met with Hoyd.
Yep. And also it's like, it's fun because he's wearing like a fake beard and a fake nose that what's his name, the Dachshund had for him. So that's interesting. And he's talking with Lord Venture, and Lord Venture is asking about rebellion and about the survivor. And Kel's like, oh yeah, all sorts of people like claim to be the survivor or claim or like use the survivor's name to try and like stir up rebellion, but it's, you know, nothing serious. But Straff is like, no, you should look into it. And so Kel's been told to go look into himself, which is of course funny. And
then he also asks about, but the Ska seem to be convinced about this rumor of an 11th medal, and asks him about that as well.
Yeah, which is like, why? It's like, Kelsier, why are you surprised? Why? Like, it. I'm genuinely kind of confused as to why Kelsier is surprised, because Kelsier was intentionally spreading rumors about the 11th medal.
Yeah.
So, like, why is it that anytime someone else brings up the 11th medal to him, he's like, oh, I'm surprised that they... Yeah. It's like, motherfucker, you were actively spreading the rumor. Why are you surprised that other Ska know about it? Why are you surprised? It's like, nobles know... Like, you were starting the rumor.
Yeah.
I guess he's just surprised at, like, how far it got or how whatever, but it's just like...
I think because, like, ska noble, like, society is so, like... Separated that he's surprised that, like, oh, wow, it's gotten to the nobles by this point, or whatever, because Straff mentions, like, it's a legend, like, one I've never heard of, and I pay very close attention to such things. There is no legend, so, like, he seems to pay more attention to... To,
like, what the ska are up to and stuff like that, you know. More worried about ska rebellion than, like, other nobles perhaps are.
Oh, yeah, and then this, we get this little,
yeah, I was gonna...
Got you.
I think I was gonna bring that up. You can go ahead.
Someone particularly clever is manipulating the ska. An interesting conclusion, my lord. Indeed, and assuming the survivor did die in the pits, and if someone had gotten a hold of his corpse, his bones, there are ways to imitate a man's appearance. You know of what I speak? Yes, my lord, Kelsier said. Watch for this.
Yeah, so, like, I had in my thing, if someone got his bones, there are ways to imitate a man's appearance. It's fucking Mistwraiths.
Yeah.
Like, it just has to be.
Yeah.
Like, I simply can't, like, with the information that I have, it's like, hey, remember way back at the beginning when it's like, oh, look, a Mistwraith. Yeah, they steal things' bones and take their appearance. Oh, is it intelligent? Not one this young. Anyway. And it's just like, And it's like, oh, that one's got some human bones in it anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's like, now it's like, oh, if you had its bones, you could mimic... It's fucking Mistwraiths.
Yeah.
It's fucking Mistwraiths. It's fucking, God damn it. I have it written down. Kanta?
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Kandra.
Because it's like... Spikeway killed it and put it there and doesn't know who did, so it's like whenever he's heading home, he's using the Spikeway, which, like, makes sense. I don't know why, like, and maybe I talked about this before, it's like, for some reason I had the thought of, like, bars on the ground, like, just, like, someone took, like, a ingot and it's, like, embedded slightly in the ground, but then the idea is, like, oh no, it's, like, spikes, like, like, it's long ways in the ground. I'm like, yeah, that does make more sense to be long ways in the ground, not like short ways in the ground. I don't know why I thought that, but it's like he's just like, don't know who put it there, but you know, it's like,
but it's great. It makes for fast travel between Luthadel and
Feliz.
Feliz, thank you.
Yeah.
Feliz, yeah.
And it's just like, what if I saw another Mistborn on the way? We'd probably just ignore each other. We're pretty good at doing that. Yeah, and then I have, it is who I am, the Kandra said simply. Because Kelsier's talking to Lord Renew, and it's like, oh yes, I was told to investigate myself. One could get confused with this kind of acting. I don't know how you do it. And then Lord Renew is like, it's simply what I am. It is who I am, the Kandra said simply. And I'm like, motherfucker.
I'm trying to find where that is.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Right here. Yeah, it is who I am, the Kandra said simply.
Yep. Kandra, Kandra. It's just fucking... It's Mistwraiths. They're Mistwraiths. From the beginning, Mistwraiths steal your face. It's Kandra. Like, it's the only thing that makes sense to me. Now, the young one was, like, clear. It's like the flesh was, like, clear.
Yeah. You could see all the
bones
and
all
stuff. The other stuff.
So it's like, do they put, like, makeup on him to make him look solid? Does it, like, as they get older, they, like, can look fully like the thing? They're not, like, clear anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's like, and also, it was, like, a big thing, but this is just, like, one man. So it's almost...
Yeah. Like, not like this, the Mistwraith we saw was just, like, almost like a mountain, like, of, like, just... You know,
just parts just kind of like shambling around,
like slug-like moving, probably.
Yeah, and it's just like, this is, I think at one point I compared it to like a bonsai. It's like, what, you just take a little bit of it and put it, you know, specifically around this one thing and shape it a certain way and let it grow up into a person. And it's like, but it's like, it's intelligent, and like Lord Renew is like a person who has goals, seemingly.
Yeah.
It's like, what it's like, what do you get out of this, Lord Renew? Kandra?
Yeah.
Fucking Mistwraith? What do you get out of this?
I love it.
Yeah. Kelsier shows up and he knows about stuff that happened at the party. And Vin's like, how do you know that? I'm mysteriously powerful, Kelsier said. And I just thought that was funny. And he, like, gives a little wave of his hand. Book of the False Dawn by Deleuze Couvre. The deepness is a dark mist. Dun, dun, dun. Right. So those are my last notes, because Book of the False Dawn is the book that was hidden as Weather Patterns of the Northern Dominance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the book that Ellen had.
Yes.
That he was reading.
Yep, and it's by Deleuze Couvre or something like that. I had to, like, write down my best approximation of how the name is pronounced. Wow, I was really close.
Nice.
It was an S. They wrote it with an S, and I wrote it with a C. But then I got Couvre exactly correct.
Nice.
I've got your number, Sanderson. Yeah, and that's a fun name, Book of the False Dawn. And I like how it's like, if he had banned the book, it would have gotten more attention. Yeah. The book's, like, sort of dry enough.
Yeah.
It's like that it just sort of, like, languishes in obscurity without actually being banned, you know?
Yep.
It's like, if we banned it, then people would actually, like, read it, and we don't want that.
Right.
And so I just thought that was funny. And he's like, you know, it's just fashionable.
Yeah.
He's just a fashionable anarchist.
Yep, and they're kind of arguing, or Kelsier's realizing that Vin is, like, kind of starting to have feelings for Elend, and he's not a huge fan of that, as he hates all the nobles.
Yeah.
And so there's a bit of that kind of going on in this. And then she's like, but he's got this, like, these books that are, like, anti-Lord Ruler, and Kelsier's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, he's got some books, but, like, he's kind of the same as all of them, you know?
Yeah, it's like, he's still a noble, and, like, you know, it's fashionable to be like, you know, he's just edgy, essentially.
Yeah.
He doesn't put it like that, but it's like, yeah, he's just, like, an edgy guy who's like, I'm cool, I don't think the Lord Ruler is all that hot shit. Yeah, but it's like, he would get in trouble for having this kind of literature, like, actually. Like, it would be, like, not good for him to be found with it.
Especially with, like, a big variety of it, if he has more than just, you know.
Yeah, and also considering he's, like, from one, like, the major houses. Yeah. So it's, like, it'd be, like, a big deal. And, and that's...
Yeah, and so then he also... Kelsier also kind of pushes Vin into showing, like, how much she, like, kind of cares for him. Like, in this bit here is, like...
Yes, because he's, like, if
obligators had proof of that, they'd hand young Elend over to the Inquisitors, noblemen or not. The question is, how do we make certain that happens?
Yep.
If the Venture heir were to be executed, it would certainly add to Luthadel's political turmoil. Vin paled visibly. Yes, Kelsier thought with an internal sigh. She's definitely falling for him. I should have foreseen this, sending a young, pretty girl into noble society. One vulture or another was bound to latch on to her.
Yep.
It's just interesting, because, like, we've obviously seen her in Elend, and we haven't been in Elend's head, so we don't really know what's going on, but
we're sort of, like, but because we're in Vin's head, we're sort of, like, more sympathetic to Elend than Kelsier is, because it's, like, the side of Elend that we've seen is only sort of the side that Vin's seen, which is, like, a pretty good side of him, generally. And he seems genuine, but also, again, it's like, you know...
And we've seen a little bit more of him in the later bit of this section.
Yes. Which again...
we definitely have to...
got
stuff to talk about.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's gonna be... It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be kind of a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So... next chapter 21, or is there still stuff? And
I do want to read this one little like bit still in this conversation between Vin and Kelsier. I didn't tell you this could get him killed, Kelsier. I thought maybe, well, he's reading forbidden books and he seems like a good man. Maybe we can use him as an ally or something. Oh, child, Kelsier thought. I hope he doesn't hurt you too much when he discards you. You should know it better than that. And just...
Yeah. And also, I said 21 was the next chapter, but it's not. 20 is the next chapter, but again, my notes.
Yeah. And Kelsier just says, like, don't worry, I'm not going to kill him, like...
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, chapter 20.
Chapter 20. So, and the funny thing is that the only notes I had for chapter 20 in the beginning were, like... allomancy stuff, and then later whenever I went back and re-listened and took notes again, I have, like, actual notes from the beginning. So, like, Vin misses Mistborn shit, and makes a lot of long carriage rides.
Yeah.
So she's like...
Yeah. And going to, like, balls, like, all the time.
Yep. It's like, she's like, I mean, this long carriage ride there, and then back, and then there, and then back all the time. It's like, it'd be so much faster if I could just take the spikeways. Ellen is the only, quote, real one. It's like, none of the other people that she talks to at these things feel fully real, only Ellen does. Shan is being a real bitch.
Yeah, and Ellen seems to be avoiding her a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, he seems to be avoiding her some. And Shan's being a real bitch, taking every opportunity she can to insult and tear down the Lady Valette. Have soldiers don't even know Renew is in on it. I think that's from, like... whenever it's, like, there's stuff going on at House Renew.
Yeah.
And they're, like, moving soldiers and stuff. And Kelsier's like, the soldiers don't even know that, like, Lord Renew's in on it. They think I'm just, like, scamming him to like, get them there.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, so they think he's a nobleman that I'm scamming. Besides, this would be a great opportunity for us to go and inspect the army.
Right, because he's going to go visit the rebels in the caves.
Yeah, and I think, like, Min's like, I want to go. And it's like, why?
I know. I was going to leave it, but it was funny.
Then is like, I want to go, and Kelsey's like, why? why would you do that? He's like, no, I'm going to go check out the army and stuff. It's like, you're being kind of obvious. It's like, yeah. It's like Lord Renew's been getting all these weapons. There need to be, like, soldiers that he's, like, giving them to or whatever. We're being sneaky.
Yeah.
We're being sneaky while also showing off.
Yeah.
Like, you know, showing people what they expect to see.
Right.
Oh yeah, and then she's gonna be learning, was it bronze?
Yes, with Marsh.
With Marsh, and it's like, bronze is important because being able to detect allomancy, it's like you can, once you get good enough at it, you can tell, like, exactly what someone's doing with allomancy by, like, reading the specific patterns, and you can tell, like, what specific emotion a soother or a rider is, like, trying to manipulate. And, you know, it's like, mistings can't hide their allomancy with copper, so it's like, it's important to still know how to use bronze because you're going to be dealing with mistings,
right? And
mistings can't hide their allomancy, and so it's like, and you shouldn't underestimate mistings and be like, oh, well, they're just mistings.
Yeah. Because it means they're specialized.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. And I have here, Inquisitors are Mistborn. Getting spikes through the skull would definitely snap you, yeah. I guess that's just something that I was thinking about at the time. And so, yeah, they're having their, like, training session where they talk about...
Here's the little dog noises.
Yeah, we got little Tilly noises. They talk about how some of the, like, allomancy works. 3 patterns within pulses, 1 for physical, which is apparently a quick pattern, 1 for the metal, 1 for the 2 greater metals. Pulse length, metal group, and push-pull variants are what you need to know. Long pulse beats against you in a quick pattern is pewter. Internal, physical, pushing metal. Long equals internal, short equals external. So those were the notes that I took on, like...
yeah.
On that, like, allomancy stuff, because it's, like... We get a little bit of, like, intrigue on, like, how the magic works.
Yeah.
It's, like, allomantic, like, pulses and what pattern they are, and, like, their intervals and their strengths. And are they pushing or are they pulling?
Yeah. Internal or external.
Yep.
Yes. Push, pull, internal, external, and
pattern, because it's like it's in a pattern.
No, mental, physical.
Yeah, mental, physical.
Yeah, so it's mental, physical, external, internal, pushing, pulling.
Yeah, and there's also 3 different patterns.
Yes.
For physical, mental, and then for the 2 greater metals, which we still don't know what. Like, we've only. Like, we still haven't learned about one of them.
Uh-huh.
What does it do?
Uh-huh.
Tilly, what are you on about?
Tilly is, like, doing an almost bark, and she's, like...
And just, like...
moving back and forth.
Yeah.
What are you looking at us like that for?
What do you want, Tilly? But yeah, it's like we have a whole other allomantic metal that we haven't been told anything about. What does it do? Come on.
There's always another secret.
There's always another secret. We're like over halfway through the book.
We are reading a trilogy.
A trilogy.
A trilogy. We're reading a trilogy.
We're reading a trilogy, a Twilight trilogy. Twilight was 4 books though, which is fun.
Tilly.
Also, I have Twilight on the brain because yesterday we watched ContraPoint's new video on Twilight. So, you know. I wouldn't go on a tangent on a video about Twilight. I wouldn't go on a tangent in a podcast about Mistborn.
Alright.
Because it's like because like I know that the other one is gold, but we haven't even been told that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I want Sanderson, please tell me about gold. What does gold do? We're gonna find out what the fucking secret 11th metal does before we ever fucking find out what gold does. I swear. Anyway, Vin's tragic backstory is my next note. Vin's even more tragic backstory. Yes,
because she soothes Marsh into giving more information about himself and Kelsier.
Yes. Yep. She's like Copper, and then she soothes him, and then he's like, "Are you soothing me?" Yeah.
He's like starting to talk. He's starting to ramble, and then he's like, Inquisitors use it, so I had. I'm just gonna start from here. Well, I feel the same way about the Obligators, he said, turning away. I'll do anything to hurt them. They took our mother. That's when I snapped. And that's when I vowed to destroy them. So I joined the rebellion and started learning all I could about Allomancy. Inquisitors use it, so I had to understand it. Understand everything I could. Be as good as I could. And are you soothing me? And then Vin's immediate instinct is run.
Yeah.
Run, hide. And then he's like, never do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then Vin goes, she looks at his eyes and it says his eyes look very stern, like my brother.
Yeah, because he had like a nickname.
Yeah, Iron Eyes.
Iron Eyes.
And then, so stern, like my brother. Were you close? I hated him, he whispered. Marsh's eyes lingered on Vin's, then turned away. I see. Do you hate Kelsier? No, I don't hate him. He's frivolous and self-important, but he's my brother. And that's enough? I have trouble understanding that, Vin said honestly. Your brother didn't treat you well, I presume? What about your parents? Oh, right, so this is where we find out about her mom.
Yep.
What about your parents? One was a nobleman, the other? Mad, Vin said. She heard voices. It got so bad that my brother was afraid to leave us alone with her. But of course, he didn't have a choice. I don't remember it. But Reen said that he came home one day and found my mother covered in blood. She had killed my baby sister, messily. Me, however, she hadn't touched, except to give me an earring. Reen said she was holding me on her lap, babbling and proclaiming me queen, my sister's corpse at our feet. He took me from our mother, and she fled. He saved my life, probably. That's part of why I stayed with him, I guess.
Yep. So Vin's tragic backstory gets even more tragic than it already was.
Yep. Yeah.
So I have Vin Queen. I swear to God, if Vin is Lord Ruler's child somehow. I don't know what that would or how that would, but just like the mom's like, "You're a queen." I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And also she's like a fucking allomancy prodigy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's got something to do with it somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense, but it's all I got.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the last of my notes for chapter 20.
Yeah, for 20, the rest is basically just kind of Marsh and Kelsier's relationship, where it's Marsh seems to have like a thing for Kelsier's wife, Tilly?
Yeah.
Like, she's being crazy.
She's being so crazy. It's like, I don't know what she wants.
Yeah. So it seemed like Marsh was, like, in love with Kelsier's, like, wife and such, and there's, like, a bit of that, like, looking at that relationship a bit.
Yeah, because it's like, we've seen some of that, but, like, Vin is, like, just sort of, like, putting it together.
Yeah,
Because we've had, like, a sort of a bit of that with, like, the way that Marsh and Kelsier have talked before.
Yeah.
But this is, I guess, sort of a bit more, like, confirmation.
Yeah.
Or sort of, like, Vin seeing it.
Yep. All right, and so then we can go on to 21.
21. Kelsier's reading the Epigraphs.
Yes, yeah, so now we get, like, a big chunk of it all together. Sazed is translating it, and they're all kind of pouring it over, and Kelsier wants all of them to have a copy of it.
Yep. Get everyone reading it. I also have, the Lord Ruler seems like just a guy. That's how Kelsier's kind of feeling reading it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like the Lord Ruler's just kind of like a beast. Just kind of like this monster that exists.
Right.
And then they go to they're going on their way to see the army.
Right.
In the caves.
Yep. Yeah. So they go there.
And Kelsier's got trauma about the pits.
Yes. Yeah. So we have
Yeah, because he's like they're gonna be like they have to go down these like cracks in the ground essentially.
Yeah.
And like climb down them, and Kelsier.
The soldiers pulled away some false underbrush, revealing a crack in the ground. It was dark within, the sides jutting with crystalline granite. It wasn't a standard hillside cavern, but instead a simple rent in the ground leading directly down. Kelsier stood quietly looking down at the black, stone-laced rift. He shivered slightly. It reminds me of the pits. They looked like this, cracks in the ground. Eden, Kelsier waved dismissively. I knew this was coming. I climbed down inside those caves every day for a year, and I always came back out. I beat them. They have no power over me. To prove his words, he stepped forward and climbed down into the thin crack. It was just wide enough for a large man to slip through. As Kelsier descended, he saw the soldiers, both Demu's squad and the new recruits, watching. He had intentionally spoken loud enough for them to hear. Let them see my weakness, and let them see me overcome it. They were brave thoughts. However, once he passed beneath the surface, it was as if he were back again, smashed between two walls of stone, questing downward with shaking fingers. Cold, damp, dark. Slaves had to be the one who recovered the ATM. Allomancers might have been more effective, but using some forms of allomancy near ATM crystals shattered them. So the Lord Ruler used condemned men, forcing them into the pits, forcing them to crawl downward, ever downward.
Yep, so Kelsier has trauma about the pits, puts on a brave face for the recruits. Allomancy shatters ATM crystals, which is interesting.
Yeah, and they also seem to be like they're like in kind of like crystal-lined holes. Crystal-lined holes.
Yes, yeah, it's all so yeah. The pits are interesting. We get this description of the pits and how like shitty it is because it's like we'd heard Pits of Hessen, but it's like now we sort of get
there's
like an actual sort of like description of what it's like going in there and how Kelsier sort of like what his experience was like, and then we get like a bit more here.
Yeah, there's Kelsier forced himself onward. This wasn't Tathsin. The crack wouldn't go down for hours. There'd be no crystal-lined holes to reach through with torn, bleeding arms, stretching, seeking the ATM geode hidden within. One geode that bought one more week of life. Life beneath the Taskmaster's lashes. Life beneath the rule of a sadistic god. Life beneath the sun gone red.
Yeah, it really is one of those things where it's like, at a certain point, you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
like, just fucking kill me.
Yeah, and he thought about, like, at another point, I think, in this chapter, he's like, he almost gave up or whatever, like, a few times, and then, like, Mare gave him, like, her...
Right. Well, he was like, I'd think about giving up sometimes, and then I'd find someone else's like bones down there.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm not gonna die down here.
Yeah.
And then eventually, Mare gives him a geode being like, oh, I found 2, but
yeah.
she didn't.
Yeah.
And she gets, that's how she dies.
Yep. And then Kelsier snaps.
Yep. And then he kills a bunch of people.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he said, like, was it the next night many men died or something like that.
Yeah, it was like that night I snapped, the next day many men died or something like that.
Right, that bit, I think he thinks about that when Ham is like, look at how pretty this is, and he's like, it's not pretty. Like all the crystals.
Right. So yeah, because I have 1 geode, gets you another week of life. I wonder if Kel soothed Eden into working together. That's a separate thing. Because, you know, he goes down and he's like, I'm fine, I'm totally fine, but he's like crawling down and it still like, you know, bothers him because of his time in the pit.
Yeah.
And he talks to Eden and Eden's like, I can't believe I agreed to work with you. And it's like, you know, it's like, I forget exactly what it is, but it's like, you know, it's like, oh, you believed in me earlier when we first started, like, working together. It's like, well, I guess so. And I'm like, did he, like, soothe him in the beginning to be like, work with me? And then he's like, why did I even do that? But I don't know. It's just like...
That's... I mean, I could see that.
Yeah, it's like, you know, Eden would just, like, never work with him. And it's like, nope, I'm working with the rebellion. And I'm just gonna fucking soothe you about it. Yeah, my next thing is Kel's too traumatized to enjoy the caves.
Yeah.
Because he's talking to Ham.
Yeah.
Because he's talking... Well, he's talking to Ham about, like, replacing him. Or, like, not replacing him, but just being like, Eden's gonna take over and then you're gonna come back to Luthadel. Because Eden needs some time to, like... Because if we're going to be giving the army over to Eden...
Right.
Then, like, they need to, like...
Get used to him.
And
him get used to, you know, leading in this way and all that.
Yeah, and so it's like, and also we need you back in Luthadel. And so Ham's like... Kind of doesn't want to do it, but it's like, oh, okay. And it's like... Caves sure are pretty, huh? I'm sure you've noticed. And Kelsey's like, no. No.
You know, Ham said after a few minutes of walking, there's something else nice about this place. You've probably noticed this before, but it's certainly beautiful down here sometimes. Kelsier hadn't noticed. He glanced to the side as they walked. One edge of the chamber had been formed of dripping minerals from the ceiling, thin stalactites and stalagmites, like dirty icicles, melding together to form a kind of banister. Minerals twinkled in Ham's light. The path in front of them seemed to be frozen in the form of a tumbling, molten river. No, Kelsier thought. No, I don't see the beauty, Ham. Other men might see arts in the layers of color and melted rock. Kelsier only saw the pits, endless caves, most of them going straight down. He'd been forced to wiggle through the cracks, plunging downwards in the darkness, not even given a light to brighten his way. Often he'd considered not climbing back up, but then he would find a corpse in the caves, the body of another prisoner, a man who had gotten lost, or who had perhaps just given up. Kelsier would feel their bones and promise himself more. Each week he'd found an ATM geode. Each week he'd avoided execution by brutal beating. Except that last time. He didn't deserve to be alive. He should have been killed. But Mare had given him an ATM geode, promising him that she had found 2 that week. It wasn't until after he had turned it in that he had discovered her lie. She'd been beaten to death the next day, beaten to death right in front of him. That night, Kelsier had snapped, coming into his powers as a Mistborn. The next night, men had died. Many men.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he's trying to decide whether she did it out of, like, guilt for betraying him, or if, like, he was wrong and she never betrayed him, and, you know.
Yep. All that jazz. And then, Mare saved him in the pits, and Kel snapped. And then they have the balance. So this is where, Kel starts talking with Ham, where he's like, because, you know, Ham's clearly kind of bummed or whatever. It's like, all right, Ham, you can tell me about what you're thinking.
Yeah. He doesn't want to... Kelsier doesn't want to keep thinking about this, so he's like, that's distraction.
Yep, it's like, all right, Ham, what are you philosophizing about right now? And unfortunately, Ham is philosophizing about Ska potentially actually being inferior to nobles. The balance. There's always more Ska than nobles. There's always... Ska have more children than nobles do.
Yeah.
Nobles have a hard time having children, and they're sort of debating whether or not that's...
like cultural or biological or, you know.
Yeah, and it's like, Ska are also shorter generally, and Kelsier's like, that's nutritional, which, you know, there's some basis in reality for that.
Yeah, and then they talk about allomancy.
Yep, and it's like, well, the nobility do have allomancy, and the Sky don't, so, like, that actually, like, is something. And it's like, Ham wonders if there's a real difference between Sky nobles, and maybe nobles deserve to rule. It's like, you don't really believe that. It's like, no, I guess not, but, like... and so it's like, a little uncomfortable that our old buddy Ham is thinking this stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, Ham's always philosophizing, wondering about things. So maybe it means nothing, but it is like a little worrying.
Yeah, and then Kelsier says, "No, Ham, it isn't right. This isn't right. I know it's hard to see. Things have been this way for so long, but something very serious is wrong with the way Sky live. You have to believe that." And I think we have another dog scratching at the door. More dog noises.
More dog noises, more me noises, you know. And then for some reason I just have Demu.
Yes.
Just that's
Demu.
Yeah, that's just the whole bullet point. It's just Demu.
Do you remember why?
No.
So Kelsier's it's like before he's about to leave the caves, and he wants to kind of put on a big performance.
But yes, no, I remember, because Demu's not the guy who... Is Demu the guy who is, like, against the cause, or the guy who, like, fights for Kelsier?
Fights for Kelsier. So Demu is a bit, like, smaller. Like, he can fight, but it's not his, like, his best thing. And then Kelsier kind of... he asks Ham, like, who's been, like, causing the most kind of trouble, but not, like, something that you could actually, like, punish him for or whatever. And it's Bilg. And he purposefully pisses them off and riots their emotions to get them into a fight, and then pushes him against Demu and uses, like, allomancy, so it looks like Demu is the soldiers think that his, like, power can be passed on in some way.
Yeah, he pulls a Pyrrha from Ruby.
Yes.
During that fight, he uses
magnetism. Yeah.
Yep, he uses magnetism in order to affect the stuff.
Straight up.
He uses magnetism in some ways that I'm like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. But I guess it just, like, if they're, like, circling around.
Yeah, it'll just go in, like, if you push in one direction, you know, like, it's...
Right, because it's like, there's times where it's like he pulled it to the side, and I'm like, you can't do that. You can only pull it towards you or push it away from you. You can't, like...
Yeah, but it's like, if it's already going in a direction, then you pull it, then it would, you know, veer it to the side, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, if they're not, if he's not, like, directly behind Demu, if he's, like, to the side, then it's like it pulls sort of, like, to Demu's side or to Bilge's side, and if they're, like, circling around. Because sometimes he's, like, pulling or pushing on it to, like, make the attack hit harder, but other times he's, like, pulling something to the side, and so it's like, I guess if they're, like, circling around each other, that could be possible, or if he's circling around them.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, there were just times where I'm like, how does this line up quite right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a fight. People don't stay perfectly in line unless they're doing a very specific kind of sword fighting.
Yeah.
A very specific kind of fencing, as opposed to the other kind of fencing where you circle around.
Yeah. And he also during this fight or whatever, like, Demu basically had beaten Bilg or whatever with his help, and Demu stepped forward, raising his weapon over the stunned Bilg, and then he stopped. Kelsier burned iron, reaching out to grab the weapon and pull it down to force the killing blow, but Demu resisted. This man should die, Kelsier thought angrily. On the ground, Bilg groaned quietly. Kelsier could just barely see the twisted arm, its bones shattered by the powerful strike. It was bleeding. No, Kelsier thought, this is enough.
Yeah, Kelsier feels very strongly about this, and so he has sort of, like, a lack of sympathy for people who are, like, scared and not sure about it.
Yeah.
In this sort of way, and he can be kind of, like, rash and be like, no, fuck this guy, but it's like, no, this, like, I don't need to, like, take it that far, but it's still just, like, uncomfortable to have Kelsier trying to, like, fucking kill this man over this stuff. In my notes, I have, this man does not deserve to die, fucking Kel, you don't need to kill this man.
Yep. And Ham is also like, my dude, like, that's not right. Also, like, you lied to my army.
And then Kelsier's like, I lied to my army.
Yep. Which is interesting.
Yep, I have first real rift in the sort of, like, crew.
Yeah.
It's, like, the first real sort of, like, big, like, tension, I'd say.
Yep.
Plots behind plots, plans beyond plans, there's always another secret.
Yep.
Because he's like, I wish I could tell you everything, Ham.
Yeah.
But I can't. And it's like, yeah, Kelsier seems to have some sort of plan, and somehow the whole lying to the army about the power stuff is involved, maybe, somehow. It has something to do with it. I don't know. Kelsier's got shit going on.
Yeah.
Chapter 22.
We're back with Vin.
Mm-hmm.
And Vin is reading the logbook now.
Mm-hmm. Terracemen wear earrings and bracelets that can store up strength for the next day.
Yes, yeah, because she's reading, and part of it is we picked up a group of Terrace packmen to guide us through. These were no ordinary men. Some Terrace men have remarkable ability that is most intriguing. Before they sleep at night, they spend an hour lying on their bedrolls, during which time they suddenly grow very frail in appearance. Oh my god! In appearance!
You need to like read.
Yeah, the problem is I'm reading it too fast.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like going and yeah.
It's like you need to like pre-read.
There's so much noise happening in this recording.
This recording is.
That would be an interesting one.
It's slightly cursed. It's gonna be way shorter than it looks like it is right now because there's just so much long silence and. Blech.
Yeah. We're going pretty quickly through this time, though.
We are. That's what I was thinking. It's like,
but we have like kind of a lot of broad strokes to like talk about, and less kind of like like
nitty gritty little detail.
Yeah.
I have like basically no notes for chapter 23.
Yeah. For 23, there's a little bit of just like kind of seeing the world pre-ascension. You know, like find the countryside beautiful, great mountains to the north with their bald snow caps and forested mantles. Stand like watchful gods over this land of green fertility, and just
That's for like 22, yeah.
Oh, are we in 23?
No, we're in 22. I was just saying, we were talking about speeding through it, and I was just saying that like I don't have many notes for the next chapter, and then you said 23 when you were reading this bit from 22.
Got you.
But yeah, so in 22 we get to see the bit of that. Vin's reading that. Vin also doesn't like reading, which is funny.
Yeah.
Vin's like, if there's one thing I've learned from reading this book, it's that I don't like reading. Tilly, you're being rude. You're being very rude, Tilly. No barking, please. We're recording. Do you want to go outside, Tilly? Is that what it is? Have you just been raring to go outside this whole time? I saw you looking out the window for a bit. I tried giving you a toy, and you didn't really respond to it.
What is your problem?
Okay, and we're back. We had a bit of a dog break. But we were talking about Vin and how she doesn't like reading.
Yeah.
She's reading the thing, and she's like, don't like it. Don't like reading. It's not fun. And she's also... one of my notes is Vin learns to read, and Vin is that kind of Wheel of Time reader. Vin's that kind of Wheel of Time reader. She thinks that the Lord Ruler is very whiny.
Yeah.
She's like so whiny. For an evil god of darkness, he sure is dull.
The continued reading led her to a second conclusion. The Lord Ruler was far more whiny than any god had any right to be.
Yep. So that's Vin's take on the Lord Ruler. And then Vin is like, I want to talk to Sazed about Terracemen magic stuff.
Yep.
And gets real sassy with him.
Yep. Yeah, first Spook gives her a handkerchief, but that's just a...
Yes, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Fucking Spook, a.k.a. Lestibornus. I was like, God, I've already lost it. Because I like Lestibornus. It's a fun name. But yeah, Spook gives her a handkerchief.
Yeah.
And she's like, the fuck?
Yep.
And then goes and asks Sazed about that.
Yeah,
and he's like, yeah, he's interested in you, obviously.
Yep.
It's how you show that you're interested in pursuing.
Yeah, specifically with nobles, it's more common.
But then Vin asks about the Terraceman stuff, and he's like, I probably shouldn't say. And then she's like, okay, fine, I guess if the secrets that are in this book involve the Terraceman stuff, I guess I'll just not have the context to understand it. And he's just like, fine, I guess I'll tell you about my cultural secrets. my keeper secrets.
Yeah.
And so we learn about feruchemy.
Yes. Our art is called feruchemy, and it grants the ability to store certain physical attributes inside bits of metal.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't burn away their metals, they use them as storage. Each piece of metal, dependent on the size and alloy, can store a certain physical quality. The feruchemist saves up an attribute, then draws upon that attribute at a later time.
Mm-hmm. And so we find out that memories are stored in copper.
Yep.
Which is why it's Coppermind.
Yeah, Coppermind, the site with all of the Cosmere stuff.
Yep. And so it's like, oh, that's fun. Now I get to know that. But yeah, it's very cool that it's like you can store up strength for the future. You can store up eyesight for the future.
Yep.
Memories, all that sort of stuff. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It would be a fun power to have.
Yeah, and he and like that's why Sazed has all those like earrings and jewelry and all of that type of stuff.
Yep, because it just has to be like touching them.
Yep.
Which also means like Vin has an earring.
Yeah.
And I've always been like Chekhov's earring.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's got any fancy shit going on with it, you know, or if it's going to be used for anything like that. You know, she's going to learn how to like store stuff in her earring and then use it later, and that'll be like important somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you can't allomancy metals that are in somebody.
Right.
Because then you could just rip metals out of someone's stomach. But like the feruchemy requires you to be touching the metal or for the metal to be inside you, like in an earring or a bracelet. So it's just kind of interesting. Yep. Copper stores memory and thought. Language conservation and reconstruction is one of my notes. Because, I don't know. I had that written down for some reason.
Had what written down?
Language conservation and reconstruction.
Oh, yeah, that's what the keepers are there for.
Yeah, because I think I was thinking about it because of, like, you know, talking about recording all this stuff, and it makes me think about, like, reconstructing Hebrew and Latin and things like that.
Yes.
And trying to sort of figure out how they were actually pronounced and stuff. And it's like, oh, you know, we're gonna give this knowledge, like, back to the people that it was lost from, but there's a certain degree of, like, you know, how accurately has it been preserved, and how well can we reconstruct that language once it's been lost and stuff. That's just like an interesting question for me personally.
Yeah, and so each keeper carries several bracers like this, filled with knowledge, songs, stories, prayers, histories, and languages. Mm-hmm. And many keepers have a particular area of interest. Mine is religion, says.
Yep.
If just one of us survives until the death of the Lord Ruler, then the world's people will be able to recover all that they have lost. Mm-hmm. Except for stuff that wasn't rediscovered.
Yep. Everything that they do have, they can then pass on. My next note is Ham's married, and so is Eden.
Yep.
Sazed talks about some of that stuff, and then he's like, he talks about like Dachshund, like how Dachshund's from a plantation. And it's like, don't you ever talk with your friends? And Vin's like, I have friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, Vin, stop. Stop, Vin. Stop being so sad.
Yeah.
I have friends. Yes, Vin, you have friends. Stop it. Jesus. And so then Vin is like, I'm gonna go have an awkward conversation with Dachshund.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go try and have a friendly conversation, whatever that means. And I love Dachshund, normal man, backbone of the crew.
Yeah.
Just, like, the normal guy who's like, I just, like, run everything, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm the logistics guy, and I'm just kind of like a guy from a plantation.
Dachshund was valuable because of his simple ability to organize. When something needed to be purchased, Dachshund saw that it got done. When a building needed to be rented, supplies procured, or permits secured, Dachshund made it happen. He wasn't out front scamming noblemen, fighting in the midst of recruiting soldiers, but without him, Vin suspected that the entire crew would fall apart.
Yep. Backbone of the whole operation.
Yeah.
And then, oh boy.
Yeah, then she asks him about being like a plantation ska, and we hear about kind of Dachshund's story.
Yes, and it's intense. Like, so early on, like one of the first things that we see in this book, right? In the prologue
is plantation ska.
Is plantation ska, and we see Kelsier like interacting with them, but specifically we see Kelsier saving a woman from one of these like plantation nobles. I mean, we don't like see it firsthand, but like, you know, that's what happens. Like, we know that that's going to happen. That's sort of like kind of one of the first things that gets talked about. And it's like, you know,
and it's one of the first things that the noblemen that like we're in like the head of or whatever is like talking to the obligator, and he's like, don't worry, I do what I'm supposed to with them.
Yeah, no, that's what I was talking about. It's like the sort of like the first thing that we like talk about and see, and like it sort of shows off how shitty the nobility are, sort of like early on. And you know, I didn't quite think that we were going to be coming back to it so like specifically, because it's like, because this then becomes a big part of what the next chapter is sort of about, because we find out that what was going to happen at the beginning of the book does happen, or did happen successfully. Successfully feels like the wrong way to put this, but you know, it does happen to Dachshund's love. Back when he was a plantation ska. And that's, you know, a big sort of impetus for Dachshund and his sort of like thoughts and feelings. Right.
And he's like, no, they're all like this.
Yeah.
Like she's like, no, but like there's some of them have to be like, but they're so pretty, they're so like, you know, put together. I've been to these balls, I've met these people, these are people now to me. Like I've met and talked to them. And they can't, you know,
and like some of like they can be like kind in their own way and like good people and stuff. It's like how can they allow this monster amongst them? And it's like, Vin, they're all like this. They're all like this. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And we sort of get a bit more on like how noblemen can do whatever they want to ska. So long as there's no children, so long as they kill the ska afterwards, and so it's just like such like a normal part of existence there.
And so one of Dachshund's little kind of bits here: noblemen are different, Vin, Dachshund said sternly. They're horrible creatures. Why do you think I don't complain when Kelsier kills them? Why do you think I'm working with him to overthrow the government? You should ask some of those pretty boys you dance with how often they've slept with ska women they knew would be killed a short time later. They've all done it at one point or another. They can't be redeemed, Vin, Dachshund said. He didn't seem as passionate about the topic as Kelsier. He mainly seemed resigned. I don't think Kel will be happy until they're all dead. I doubt that we have to go that far, or even that we can. But I, for one, would be more than happy to see their society collapse.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is a very, you know.
It's very understandable. Yeah. It's like, no wonder Kelsier feels this way. No wonder Dachshund feels this way. You know, it's like, even if it wasn't that specifically, there's plenty of other stuff like why, but it just sort of is like, you know, it's something that's so visceral. Yeah. You know, that it's like, and especially telling this to Vin, you know, and so like now Vin has this sort of like hanging over her head.
And like so while Vin, so like I've listened to other like podcasts and like first reader like stuff, and a lot of people when they get to kind of like Vin realizing like the kind of how the nobles like are or whatever, they're like, well, like, shouldn't you know, Vin, or whatever, you've been like like abused and stuff by this like your whole life. And it's like, but she didn't like see nobles on a daily basis. No. mainly honestly being abused by other ska and by other, you know, like these kind of power structures that these like smaller dynamics.
It's like she was working with ska thieving crews and with like her brother, and so it's like all she really knows is the like ska underworld, which like touches the noble world in these like very specific ways.
Right.
She's not spending any amount of time with nobles.
Right.
And it's like, you know, the ska are treated poorly, obviously.
Right.
But it's just sort of like, well, that's just life.
And we see, like, the city ska population, like, don't have as much direct interaction with like, the nobility than, like, the plantation. Because, like, they will kind of have their specific, you know, like, nobles or whatever.
Yeah, because it's like, because it's this idea, like, the nobles out on the plantation, it's like, they're... Because, like, the nobles in the city have to deal with other nobles. And they, like, interact with them, and they sort of, like, keep to themselves, and they don't interact with the ska, and they're trying... But, like, the plantation nobles and the plantation ska interact with each other more, because the plantation nobles are more isolated. They're, like... They are the lord of their own space. And all they have are their ska to lord over and to treat however they want.
Right.
And they don't have other, like, nobles that they're, like, hanging out with. And so it's, like... You know, the ska are getting sort of the brunt of it. The plantation ska are getting the brunt of it more because they're like they're ska who are working in the factories, but it's also like they're not working for like a specific lord.
Right.
You know, because it's like they work because it's like they go to like a food house run that's like funded by the nobility, but it's not like, oh, we belong to this noble, and so we go to their house and eat the food that they give us.
Because technically, like, all ska belong to the Lord Ruler, and the nobles rent them. But, like, if you're, like, out and have a... Sorry about the dogs again. Out and have, like... Tilly. But yeah, if they're out, like, and more isolated, like you said, then, like, it feels... less like they're renting, like it's something that doesn't belong, that belongs to the Lord Ruler. It's
something that belongs to them.
More personal ownership over.
And Vin has a lot of feelings about this. Especially when it comes to Lord Elend Venture, because she has these feelings toward Elend, but now she's like worried about if Elend is this same kind of monster.
Right.
And we sure do. I like we'll get into it, of course. I'm not surprised by what I heard Ellen say. Like I expected a yes, but it's okay. And we did get sort of like the most, you know, sort of sympathetic version that you could get once we actually do get to talk to Alan about this, but before that, Vin is at another ball, and she's talking with people. We get to see her playing politics, and we get to see a bit more of the like obligators, sort of involvement with noble life. I have the note: imagine if every time you said "I swear to God," you had to actually call over a representative and pay them. Because
there's this little scene of, like, one of the nobles is like, I'll be there on Saturday or whatever. Like, I'll hang out with you guys, I promise. And they're like, you always back out. And he's like, here, obligator, come over here, witness this. I will be there on Saturday. You know? It's literally that.
It's just like, imagine. It's like, I swear to God, and we have a representative of God right here to notarize it.
And so then Vin kind of thinks, like, wow, it's interesting that, like, basically every little thing kind of goes through the obligators, and therefore kind of the Lord Ruler's, like, theocracy and stuff.
The Lord Ruler would, like, see everything essentially through them. And she's just, like, looking at everybody like,
are you all monsters? Like, holy shit, Dachshund is just, you know, like...
And that was the only note that I have for chapter 23, probably because when I was listening to it, I was just, like, so in it. And also I'd already been taking a bunch of notes previously, and so I was
because it's a lot of just conversation between Vin and some nobles that we don't care about. Like, it's, you know, just...
It's like Vin and some nobles we don't care about, and then we see, like, Vin and Shan Alariel talk.
Let's see.
And she's like, go do some shit with Lord Venture.
Oh, yeah, she told Vin to check out Ellen's books and report back.
She
wants to know what Ellen's been reading. So that's interesting. We already know that Shan was sending...
her Terraceman steward
to the table last time, so...
So she has, like, an inkling of what he's up to. Because we see Vin... Because, like, Vin does end up going and talking to Ellen again. And then also after that going and, like, following him. But they have a whole conversation where, you know, they start sort of talking about, like, oh, you're, like, avoiding me and stuff like that. But then they sort of, like, go off somewhere private or something? Or sort of, like, away from things?
She comes up and she was like crying already. Like Villette was like already sniffling, and he's like, let's go walk over here. Like what's up? Like
she just blurts it out.
Like, Villette, you're shaking. Here, let's go to the balcony and get some fresh air. And they go out to the balcony, and he's like, now what's this about? Like, I admitted I've been ignoring you, but like, what's going on? And Vin just says, have you ever slept with a Ska woman?
Yep.
Just blurts it out.
Just blurts it right out.
And, is that what this is all about? Who told you this? Have you? Ellen hesitated, pursing his lips. Lord Ruler, it's true.
Lord Ruler, it's true.
Yeah.
And it's true in the way that would be the most sort of sympathetic for our boy Ellen, where it's like, was it when he was 13?
It happened when I was 13, Ellen said quietly. My father thought that it was time I became a man. I didn't know they were going to kill the girl afterward, Villette. Honestly, I didn't.
Yeah.
And then after that, he hadn't done that since.
Yes. And so it's one of those... It gives me big Game of Thrones vibes.
Yeah.
Because there's kind of a similar thing that happens.
Yeah.
Kind of where we find out in, like, Tyrion's backstory that his dad sort of, like, made him sleep with the woman that he was going to marry.
Yeah.
It was like, she's just a prostitute and has, like, a bunch of his, like, men sleep with her, and then makes Tyrion sleep with her, and then makes him pay her. And it's like a whole thing. And then she runs off, and then Tyrion's like
I think
always wanting to know where she went and stuff like that. And it's like a whole thing. Yeah. Where it's like, where essentially Ellen and this person were both assaulted by the father. Right. As like one way of like looking.
Yeah, that's kind of how it,
is sort of portrayed, where it's like, he was forced into this as much as she was, although there is a certain degree to which he wasn't forced into it as much as she was by the sheer, like, nature of, like, Ska versus nobility, but it is also like, Lord Straff Venture is an adult, and Ellen was a child, and so it's like he only has so much, like, power in this situation to say no in the first place, and so it's like it's all fucky. It's all fucked up.
It is all fucky.
And so that sort of like reassures Vin to a certain degree. You know.
Yeah, she's like, that's horrible, but like, okay, he's not like the a monster, like like Doc said, like
and she's like, how many do, and then he's like,
what percentage? How many noblewomen do these things?
Yes, what percentage? How many noblemen?
Maybe a third, Ellen said. I'm not sure. They aren't the types I spend my time with.
Yeah, and we were sort of discussing, like, the real percentage probably lies somewhere between a third and 100%. Like Doxson says 100%, he says a third. The true answer is probably somewhere in between.
I think Ellen is probably lowballing it here, not on purpose. Just there's only so much that he would be able to notice, like, just from his position of,
and only so much that he would, like, want to see. In a sense,
both.
It's like he doesn't spend time with people like that, and so it's like, you sort of get, like, a skewed idea as to, like, what is normal within noble society. Whenever it's like, and so then they talk some more about the ska.
Yep.
And
yeah,
because Vin is like, yeah, back before I said what I was supposed to say about the ska, but actually here's what I really think about the ska.
Yep. And then he goes back with where is it?
I don't know.
It's the next page. Yeah, Elend, they're just like us, the plantation ska. You asked me about them before once. I was so afraid, so I acted like a proper noblewoman. But you seemed disappointed when I didn't have anything more to say. So you did spend time with the ska? Vin nodded. A lot of time. Too much, if you ask my family. That might be why they sent me here. I knew some of the ska very well. One older man in particular. He lost someone, a woman he loved, to a nobleman who wanted a pretty thing for the evening's entertainment. At your plantation, he ran away and came with me to my father's lands. And you hit him? Runaways are supposed to be executed.
I love how just, like, Vin is just, like, coming up with, like, I need to tell... It's like, I'm telling him Dachshund's story, but I can't say that it's Dachshund's story. So I have to come up with how I know it. But in doing so, I'm just, like, unintentionally, like, making it, like, way more than it was, in a sense. You know?
Then Ellen's like,
You hit him?
I kept a secret. I didn't know him for long, but, well, I can promise you this, Ellen. His love was as strong as that of any noblewoman. Noblemen. Stronger than most of them.
You've done that a couple times. You really like calling the noblemen noblewoman.
It's just, it's women, all right?
Yeah. I feel you.
Stronger than most of them here in Luthadel, certainly. And intelligence? Elodin said... We're getting to it again. This is what happened last time when we got towards the end. I start talking way too fast, and I cannot...
You need to slow it down a little bit.
And intelligence? Ellen said eagerly. Did they seem slow? Of course not, Vince snapped. I should think, Ellen ventured, that I knew several ska more clever than you, and they may not have an education, but they're still intelligent, and they're angry.
And they're angry.
Angry, some of them, about the... angry, he said? Some of them, Vince said, about the way they're treated. They know, then? About the disparities between us and them?
How could they not?
Yep, that's what Vince says.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, like, because it's, like... It's like without it being expressly stated to us, we essentially get the church doctrine about ska that like the nobles are given. That's like the ska don't even like, they're not upset with their position. They don't even like realize because they're just slow. There's which is just like it very much parallels real world, like, you know, the real world institution of slavery and like the way that like, no, it's falling apart.
Yeah, this book, it's really falling apart.
Yeah, it's like we've lost our first like middle page because we lost those like beginning like
the maps they fell out ages ago.
They fell out. Yeah, it's like, I mean, they're not lost, they're like around here somewhere, but just like they're not in the book anymore. But yeah, it's like it very much, you know, mirrors the real world sort of like lies and justifications about slavery.
Yep.
You know, like the ways that you like make it okay and make it right by God. Except this time, God's right there, literally telling you.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yep.
It's fine, guys. They're just ska.
Yeah, they're actually mine, and I'm renting them. Like, you rent them from me.
Mm-hmm. It's like they're actually my slaves, and y'all just get to like borrow them.
Yeah.
Which is so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Elend is real excited about this.
Yep. Yeah, he's very interested.
He's like, I have to go tell my revolutionary friends.
Yes.
I have to go tell my revolutionary adjacent nobles.
Yep.
My, you know.
Yeah, he's got Jekyll and Hastings or whatever.
Yeah.
Jaskell and Hastings.
Mm-hmm. Whatever their fucking names are. Yeah. yeah, because they're, you know, I feel like Elend is the most, like...
Hastings and Lake Hell. There we go.
Hastings and Lake Hell. Yeah, it's like... Elend is the most, like, yes, the ska are, like, people, and it's this whole thing, while the rest of them are more just, like, the Lord Ruler sucks at his job, and we could do better. Yeah. And so it's, like, you know, kind of a... and it makes sense that there would be people in the nobility who are like, fuck the Lord Ruler, we could do a better job just running things on our own.
Yeah.
oligarchy instead of monarchy.
Yeah,
Yay!
yeah. Yep, and they're talking about different like philosophies and different writers and stuff. They're going through different.
Yep. What if
their little book club?
What if we, the merchant elite, were actually the ones running?
Yeah.
What if we had a series of city-states?
We're like the heirs of our houses, so we can like
Yep. It's like, well, we're gonna shake things up. It's like we can blah 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 blah. The Lord Ruler.
Yeah.
And all this sort of stuff. We can have influence. Yep. It's like, and Vin is spying on them.
Yep, yeah. Vin goes up and she actually asks Sazed, like, can I go and
can I go do some Mistborn shit?
Yeah, and he's like, yeah. Kelsier was gonna say when he came back that you could anyway, so go ahead.
Yep, and then she runs into Kelsier while she's spying.
Yep.
She's just like, oh, Kelsier, you're here.
And he's like, are you supposed to be doing this? And she's like, meh, I asked Sazed.
And he's like, oh, carry on.
Okay, well then.
He's like, well, carry on.
Nice.
Which I thought that was just like a fun little, interaction.
Me too.
It's like, oh, well, in that case, carry on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's like, he did, Vin nodded. My mistake, Kelsier said. You should probably have Says fetch you a cloak before you leave the party. You've got ash all over the front of your dress.
I love it.
Yep, and then that's like the end of it because they're gonna
and there is a little bit of a Kelsier kind of looking in and being like, they're just they're just talking shit.
Yeah, no, it's like Kelsier doesn't think that like they're ever gonna actually like do anything, which is like it makes me think of something from Disco Elysium, but it's something from the very end of the game, so I won't say it.
Got you.
But it keeps making me think of something in particular about like who when the revolution comes, who can you rely on? and one character is listing off people who he thinks they'll be able to rely on, and one of them is like, no, and it's really funny to me who he says no they won't, and it makes me think of this. But I won't be any more specific than that, not that it would mean much to you, but,
I got you.
Yep, and so that's... Yeah. We actually weren't as long as we were fearing.
He does promise not to kill any of them.
Yeah, he's like, I won't kill your favorite little nobles. Then.
I promise.
I promise. I won't kill them. Now, whether the army kills them... And also, Kelsier has his secret other plans, so who even knows? Yeah. Who even knows?
Yes, okay, let's figure out what next section we're reading.
Yeah, because the next chapter is the last chapter in the part. It's like, we then move on to like...
There's actually 2 chapters.
2 chapters.
I didn't realize.
Gotcha.
Because 25 starts in a weird spot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so 24 and 25, and then
part 4.
Part 4.
Dancers in the Mist. Ooh.
Yeah, let's do 24 through 27.
24 through 27?
Yeah.
Alrighty, and we'll see if this time we actually stick to it.
Yeah. I think we will, because 28 will be the start of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Alrighty. Hello, editing Smeevca here to tell you that we actually ended up reading from chapters 24 through 30 because whoopsie doodle, we couldn't help ourselves. We read more than we were supposed to, because it's good, and indeed, that Sanderlanche do be happening. In fact, the next episode, we say that we're gonna read from one set of chapters to another, and then we end up just finishing the whole book. So, anyway, this has been future Smeevca, who's already finished the whole book, signing off, and about to finish editing this video. Enjoy us saying goodbye. Alrighty, so that has been... It's been
Let's Talk About Book.
Yes, and now you can go forth and think about book on your own time. Mm-hmm. I've been Smeevca.
Oh yeah, we didn't introduce ourselves at the beginning.
No, we didn't.
I'm Straub.
Yeah.
Now at the end of this.
Mm-hmm. And yes, you're 2 mystery hosts who now you know who we are. It's been a surprise.
I've been here the
whole time. But yeah. So, good night or good day or good whatever time it is out there for you.
We will see you next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.